අයියලා ඇවිල්ලා. හොඳ නෑ.
ඊට පස්සේ
මෙයාට ඕවා හොඳ නෑ.
ඩයබිටිසාල් සීනි වලින් පරිස්සම් වන ඔබට විශේෂයි. විටමින් කනිජ සහ තන්තු සමගින් නිසි පෝෂණයක් ලබා දෙයි.
මේ තමයි ඔයාට හොඳ දේ.
අඩු ග්ලයිසමික් දර්ශකයක් සහිත සමබර පෝෂණීය ඩයබිටිසාල්.
සීයා මාරයි.
සීයාගේ පුතත් මාරයි.
A very good evening, everyone. My name is Rasini Bandara. I'm the co-convener of Social Activity Subcommittee of Visakha Vidyalaya All Girls Association, and wishing all of you a wonderful evening. So we are actually, you can say at the grand finale, or else we are at the climax of the webinar series by the Social Activity Subcommittee themed Unleash Your Inner Sparkle. Well, we kickstarted in December 2020 with a series of webinars that was catered in order, having the initiative of bringing in all Visakians living across the globe to come together, to learn, to share their experiences and talents. Well, we started off with our first webinar on aesthetics, followed by a webinar on information technology, going into law, and then coming to one of the most important topics and a very difficult one, responsive parenting. And then we experienced joyful housekeeping, and now we are on to our final webinar. Well, I think that the whole COVID-19 pandemic situation pretty much came as a blessing in disguise for us, for all our Visakians to come together, living in different parts of the world and coming onto one platform. And what better opportunity than this? So as the co-convener of the Social Activity Subcommittee, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude and thank you to the office bearers of the BVOGA, the EXCO members, the resource persons of all 6 webinars, the moderators of all 5 webinars, and including this one also, the 6 webinars, the sponsors, project treasurer, a technical team, the duty girls, and not forgetting the brainchild behind this initiative, my convener, Kanchanamala Gekiyanagayaki. Well, a very, very special thanks going out to Auntie Anoma Pereira for all the advisors. She worked as the advisor to Social Activity Subcommittee. And I want to thank, last but not least, all the Visakians who actually showed the support, who were with us during all these 6 webinars, and at the same time giving us constructive criticism to do better, and also all the appreciation and love. So today we are on to our 6th and the final webinar, and in order to take the proceedings further, I'm not going to be your moderator for the day, and we have a fantastic individual to do that. So she is from the batch of 2004, and she holds a bachelor's in information technology from University of Moratuwa. She holds her master's in business administration from in international business from Sri Jawaharlal University. Co-founder Craftsmanship by WITS. So indeed, we found actually the perfect moderator for the theme today. She's also a senior relationship manager for Great Place to Work. She is none other than one of the most bubbliest, most energetic, Rukshani Vityaratna. Ruki, a very good evening to you, Nangi. You are on mute.
Thank you for reminding. Good evening to you, Rasmiyaki. Thank you very much for that generous introduction.
And so everything over to you, Ruki. So thank you so much, everyone, for being with us. And I hope and wishing all the very best to all our panelists for the day. I'm really, really excited about this webinar and looking forward to meet all of you once again with another brand new initiative. Thank you so much. Over to you, Ruki.
Thank you, Rasmi. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the final episode of an effective monthly webinar series presented by the Social Activities Subcommittee of the Visakha Vidyalaya All Girls Association. And I'm your moderator today. I'm Rukshani Vidyaratna, just like Rasini mentioned, from the batch of 2004. So what are we going to talk today? I think it's about creativity. It's about craftsmanship. How to craftsmanship? Of course, it's about how your inner sparkle can be unleashed to go through craftsmanship. I'm just double checking with our technical. Is there a problem at the moment?
We are good to go.
You're good to go. All right. Okay. Thanks, technical team. You're always behind us. And let me just take you to some older memories. So, මතකද දන්නේ හැමෝටම අපි ඉස්සර පුංචි කාලේ කොස්කොල තොප්පි හදනවා. අර හැම වෙලේම දාගෙන ඉන්නේ. ශ්‍රී ලංකන්නකොට ඊළඟට අපි තව හදනවා මඤ්ඤොක්ක කොළ මාලයක්. මඤ්ඤොක්ක දණ්ඩ මෙහෙම දණ්ඩ කඩලා ඇදලා මාල දාගන්නේ. තව අපි යාළුවොත් එක්ක එකතු වෙලා සෙල්ලම්පත් වෙනකොට තව බෝනික් ඔන්නේ. ඒ වගේ කුරුම් පැටි මැෂිම. ඒකෙන් නන්නේ කොස්කොලේ එහෙම දාලා මහන්නේ. එතකොට අපේ වසරට යනකොට අපිට ගෙනියන්න ඕන අත්වැඩ මල්ල. එහෙම නැත්නම් අපි ඕකේ තමයි ඔක්කොම දාගෙන යන්නේ ඉස්කෝලේ පුංචි වැඩ කරනකොට. මහනකොට, චිත්‍ර අඳිනකොට, අලවනකොට, කොළ ගුලි කරලා, පැන්සල් ලුල් කරලා, පැන්සලේ ආර කැපෙන කෑල්ල ඇවිල්ලා අලවලා මල් හදනකොට අපි හිතන්නේ අපි ඉස්සරහට අපේ නිර්මාණශීලීත්වයත් එක්ක අපි අපේ රස්සාව වෙනත අපේ රැකියාව ඉදිරියට ගෙනියයි කියලා. ඒ වගේ එහෙම තමන්ගේ හැකියාව නිර්මාණශීලීත්වයත් එක්කම ඉස්සරහට ගිය ලංකාවේ නම් කීප දෙනෙක් අපේ webinar එකට. So today our Visakians from several batches. We have Dr. Nisanka Kusumsiri from the batch of 1998. We have architect Minushi Pohena from batch of 1997. And we have Taruka Prematilaka, batch of 2004. And we have Lonali Rodrigo from batch of 2006. I'll first start my question from Dr. Nisanka Kusumsiri. But before that, let me introduce you to her to you. So Dr. Nisanka Kusumsiri is a lecturer, a researcher, and higher education strategist in entrepreneurship, creative industries, and design, who have contributed to these sectors since 2006 in developing education strategies of different institutions related to fashion and creative industry entrepreneurship. Closely with novice entrepreneurs in the creative industry sector in developing their craft-based and creative enterprises. She holds a PhD, PG Dip in design in fashion and product development, CTHE, CEDA lecturer, University of Jawadanpura, AMDT School of Creativity, Brandix Corporate Campus, and Singer Business School. Welcome, Dr. Nisanka Kusumsiri. Technical team, can we pass on our live screen to Dr. Nisanka, please? Yeah, Dr. Nisanka. So let me say first hi to you. Good evening. How are you doing? Are you safe at how's COVID? How's the pandemic hitting you?
Oh, quite hard, isn't it? It's hard for everyone. I mean, we are stuck at home and lectures are done online. Everything happens online, right? Basically, we are depending on data. It's a data-driven world now.
Exactly.
Right. So
Exactly.
thanks a lot
Yeah.
for introduction. And also good
Yeah.
good
So first,
evening,
my
everyone.
question to you. Yeah. So my first question to you is, what do you mean by craftsmanship? So how do you think craftsmanship is building the world, and how important is craftsmanship?
Right. Can I take through my presentation? Sharing screen?
Definitely, definitely,
Yeah, sure.
definitely.
Right. So give me 1 minute. Right. So this is what I've put together to join and contribute from my knowledge into the webinar. So first of all, if we look at what craftsmanship really is, in general terms, it means the desire to do a job well for its own sake, right, in general terms. So basically, if you are like really doing a good job in anything, like if you're wrapping a gift and you focus on that and do it nicely, it's again, in a way, it's craftsmanship, whatever task you do. But I think in from today's webinars perspective, we have actually a differentiated sector in craftsmanship that is really focusing on craft activities. So basically, if we focus on craft activities, Ruki, we can call a skill in a particular craft created with passion, care, and attention to detail as craftsmanship. Basically, we put together our passion into something that we create, and we care about that, and we put our attention into detail when we are doing that product or delivering that outcome. So we are skillful and we implement different work techniques, and we have mastery expertise in that. And then also, of course, artisanship is very important in craftsmanship. Basically, if you look at the world, there are so many different sectors in craftsmanship that we can observe. So, Ruki, I first of all thought from a historical perspective what craftsmanship would mean, because that actually clarifies so many ideas, right? If we observe the world, throughout the world, from east to the west, from China, Japan, India, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Iran, Egypt, and to the west, of course, European region. Everywhere we can see specific crafts that are unique to those cultures, right? Using their own resources, own skills, own craftsmanship, from east to the west. So these crafts are identical and unique to these cultures, using their own talents and using their own materials and techniques. And of course, if you really observe the history of craftsmanship, most of these crafts are actually originated at the grassroots levels of the society, general common people who do produce their products day to day. So something beautiful as this embroidery or a carving or a painting or a sculpture, it's done by these people with utmost care and attention to detail. It's a very slow manual process that they enjoyed so much by connecting to what they do. When they see the end result of what they do, it is like a real fulfillment that you get through that. It's a very slow manual process. And then what happened in the, if you look at actually the European history of craftsmanship, during the Industrial Revolution era, a lot of these traditional crafts actually started to die because of excessive production, facilities offered by the industrial automated systems, rampant and excessive production systems actually deteriorated a lot of craft techniques. So in response to this, the arts and craft movement emerged in Great Britain. That was the kind of initiative point where the design and arts and craft that we study today from the European perspective, the emergence or the starting point was that actually. So in response to the environmental pollution and unhealthy labor practices that occurred in the Industrial Revolution era in the Britain, and also excessive, clutter in design that is actually termed as the Victorian clutter during the Victorian era. So in response to this, the arts and craft movement emerged. So the practitioners of this movement looked back at the traditional crafts and how traditional craftsmanship had been inspired from nature, how nature, art, and society could be connected. So this is something very important that we observe in the craftsmanship, because craftsmanship is a source of human fulfillment. Not only creating a product. So create aesthetic and functional design, also creating this fulfillment. And also arts and craft movement was very, very important in its ability and the faith in the ability of art to create, build society. So through this movement, they actually worked a lot to rebuild the society of the laborers, the people who are involved in creating things, and also revitalizing traditional crafts. So these are some of the products during this era that had been produced by the practitioners of arts and crafts movement. You can see those are manually done, beautiful products. All of these products involve a lot of time, energy, effort, and passion. Right? Some of the products. Now, Ruki, I mean, in our context, I think most important aspect for us is Sri Lankan perspective, right? So craftsmanship in the Sri Lankan perspective, if we look at, we have a very rich heritage of traditional crafts that we are second to none in the world, actually, if you look at. We have so many diverse sectors of crafts. So, for example, something like this is a musical instrument from the traditional Kandyan era. And then this is Udahal, reed food hanger from the Kandyan era. Again, you can see these are done by very humble people, rural people who actually take a lot of time and effort and energy, enjoy doing this. And craftsmanship was not something alien to our society. It had been part of our blood for someone in a village to do this, because the system, the social system in Sri Lanka actually depended on different kinds of crafts. Something like this again, this is ornate beetle bag from the Kandyan era, which is called Bulat Pai. And so this is also, see, imagine someone like a general person, an average person, a grassroots level villager could do something, and everyone could actually involve in a kind of craft. There are so many different crafts if we can really observe in the Sri Lanka, from masks to laksha to biralu and wood carving, pottery, to name a few. And today, I think if we look at the commercial sense, some of these are really contributing to our economy, creating aesthetics, changing lifestyles, something like handloom and handmade textiles, if you look at the textile industry, and batik textiles again, biralu and bobbin lace, creating contemporary design out of those traditional crafts. So we have come a long way implementing the ideas to create crafts. And then, Ruki, am I taking too long?
No, it's okay. Carry on, carry on.
Right. So the final aspect that I want to emphasize here is craftsmanship from the contemporary perspective, right? All of these ideas that we have looked now, until now, it's like craftsmanship, how we have practiced as a craft or maybe as a business, but in individual levels. But if we look at craftsmanship as a collective effort, it is a major contribution to the world's creative economy. So craftsmanship contributes to creative economy through what we call creative industries. So in different countries of the world, there are systematic research that had been carried out to map their creative and craft industries. Unfortunately, in Sri Lanka, we have not conducted that kind of a systematic mapping research. But we can see basically the industries that craftsmanship is applied in the core of the process are the creative industries. So there is a definition. I mean, we are not really doing scientific academic kind of a thing, but if we look at this, it's by the United Nations UNCTAD, or we can see what a creative industry means: design, creation, and supply of tangible goods and intangible intellectual and artistic services. So this actually includes a huge spectrum of creative industries into the economic system. And this is what I mean by a mapping system or mapping document. It's really unfortunate that in Sri Lanka we have such diverse and rich heritage of craft industries, but we have not conducted a mapping system like that. And the importance of doing this, Ruki, is that once you really identify this, only we can support the craft industries through a very systematic scientific research process. So these are some of the mapping systems, right? For example, UK has done their DCMS model, and symbolic text model, again another model, like World Intellectual Property Organization has another model. So you can see there are diverse sectors in the crafts, actually the creative industries. But if we look at craftsmanship from a product perspective, there are crafts, design, fashion, and architecture is there, creative arts are there, and also a lot of creative services like visual arts, performing arts, music, and all that actually includes creative industries. So all of those has some kind of craftsmanship implemented into the process, basically. But if you look at from a product perspective, we have design, fashion, and different crafts, household goods, toys. All of these are part of creative and craft industries. This is again another mapping document. I just presented this because for someone to see how diverse this sector, and also how we can benefit by mapping a system like this. Actually, if we could do something like that in Sri Lanka, if few researchers could get together and map our creative industries and craft industries, we could really benefit from that. So this sector is a huge contribution to the economy, creative economy and knowledge economy. So in the next segment, Ruki, we will discuss about the economic impact and all. So I think basically this is my response to the idea of craftsmanship. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you, Nisanka. Thank you very much. Actually, we were just getting only a drop of that gamut of knowledge, but I think everyone would have understood the entire gamut which we are going to study about this craftsmanship. But then in the program, we are going to give you an overview, a high-level understanding of what craftsmanship is. And next on to, we have Tharuka Prematilaka. She's a Human Ethics Coordinator of the Office of Research, Ethics and Integrity of the University of Queensland. And she holds a master's degree in Humanities Education from NTU, Singapore. And she is also a trained art and craft play personnel at Children's Cancer Foundation in US, Singapore, and also the mother of a toddler. And hi, Tharuka. Hi. Good evening from Sri Lanka to Australia. Tharuka. So let me give a little bit more information about her. So she's currently working as a Human Ethics Coordinator, as I mentioned, and then she graduated from RMIT Australia with a Bachelor's of Communications, Media and Mass Communications, specialized in documentary production as well. So since I told her that she is a trained art and craft play personnel, she is mostly dealing with children in creating imagination, in enhancing their creativity, imagination, and self-expression through art and craft activities. Taruka is also a nature lover and has a strong passion towards nature crafts. So she has inspired her very own son and other small kids at a small age to find beauty, miracles, and interesting things everywhere in the mother nature, and also use them to express themselves in their own magical ways. Taruka, are we connected to you? Since Australia is a little bit far away, it takes a little bit of time for us to connect to Australia. So, hi Taruka, welcome. Taruka, you're on mute, I guess. Okay, hi. So, yeah. So why nature? Why do you think nature is important?
Yeah, thanks, Rukshani. Sorry for that interruption. I was not mute, but I don't know what happened. Anyway, before I start, I would like to thank Kanchan and Malaki as well for inviting me to be part of this wonderful panel. I'm truly honored. And coming back to your question, Rukshani, why craft with nature? I think a better way to rephrase the question would be, why not craft with nature? Because the benefits of crafting with nature are many and varied. And I'm really when I'm doing art and craft, it's making me relaxed. And especially when it's nature craft, it's something that I'm really passionate about, as Nisankaki was saying about craftsmanship as well. So before I start and answer your question, I would like to show a small video clip of one of the nature crafts that I did, which is my passion. And then I will come back to you and I will answer your question. So I'm going to share my screen. So for this nature craft, I'm not using any glue. I'm not cutting them. I'm just using some leaves and then some flowers, stones, sticks and seeds and stuff that me and my baby used to collect when we go for walks.
Wow, this is amazing.
It's going to stop sharing first. Yes, so that's one of the nature crafts I did. Now coming back to your question, why craft with nature? First of all, it's just readily available and it's free of charge as well. You just have to go outside and it's all there for you. Now, a question that some people might have is that the nature crafts may not last long, but that's not really true because there are many ways that you can preserve nature crafts. Like you can laminate them, you can frame them, or you can press it with inside a heavy book or something, or you can actually do what I did, because I don't usually use glue and stuff. So I just do it on the ground and then I will document them by taking some photographs. So I'm just going to share some of the photos of some of the nature craft work that I've done while talking as well. So I'm just going to share the screen again. So these are some craft that I did with my baby during last year's COVID lockdown time. So here you can see I'm just using some stones and stuff to create a train, and then some girls dancing, and here you can see a mother is pushing the pram, and then there's a baby boy here and the father carrying all the stuff, and then there's a bunny family. And then there's an umbrella girl again. And then this one is just a cottage. And I was just trying to create a little girl reading a book under a tree. And this is just a random idea that I came up with. And when I'm doing all this, my baby is also helping me with this stuff. Some more further art and craft stuff that I've been doing. So what I want to talk a little bit more is that when I'm talking about documenting this stuff, during last year's COVID lockdown, where we were all affected, all the kids were at home most of the time, and parents were working full time, but they are also at home. So I utilized that time as a blessing in disguise to spend more outdoor time with my baby. So we went for some little walks around our house. We collected nature items. We did a lot of nature crafts, and using those nature craft items, I invited 7 little kids living in Australia, Sri Lanka, and Canada to come up with a short story for each of the picture that I assigned to them. And they are so imaginative. Their imagination is so wild and vivid. They came up with brilliant stories that I decided to compile to a book called Magical Adventures of Little Kia. So there are 7 stories that they wrote, and with the nature craft here, and it's really amazing. And I took it a little bit a step further by putting some money together with one of my friends, and we printed this book, 250 copies, and then we sold it. And from that money, we developed 12 reading corners in the Lady Ridgeway Children's Hospital in Sri Lanka. So I'm just going to show a picture of that as well. Just give me a second. Yeah, so this is the one. Yeah, so this is when we went to the hospital. I was not here. I was in Australia, so it's my friends, my family members who helped it out. So I'm just saying that, you know, there are many ways that you can do nature craft, and many ways that you can document them and feature them. And this is a significant moment of me doing my nature craft and benefiting others as well. So another second benefit of doing nature craft is that it promotes creativity. For a person like me, before I started, before my baby was there, for me, when I'm taking walks, stones didn't really matter to me. But nowadays, when I see a stone, I'm trying to wonder whether I can use this stone as a head of somebody, or whether I can use this as a cat's tail, or as a dancing girl, or whatsoever. So these are some designs that I did with my little baby. Here's my little baby here, and he did this train on his own, and he did this elephant and a cat as well. So it actually promotes creativity even at a young age, as like, you know, 1.5 years old or whatsoever. And I uploaded these pictures to my Facebook account, and there were my friends who shared their children being inspired after seeing these photos. They have done a lot of nature craft activities after seeing these pictures. So I thought I should share some of this because they're really beautiful work, and it's really inspiring as well. So this one was sent by a little girl, and this is done with seashells. So she had done a home and then her family members as well. And this one is another fashion designer, like one of our panelists, Lonali, and she did the gown and everything using leaves and flower petals. And this one was done by a little boy. So the boy is flying a kite, and then there's clouds used with flower petals, and there's a sun and everything. And these two are paintings. Now, it might be a slightly blurred, but the reason why I wanted to show these 2 paintings is because it's done by a brother and sister. They are also under 7 years old. And these are not done by watercolors. They actually used natural colors. That means they used the flower petals and made colors, and they did these paintings. So that's how inspiring it can be. That's how creative children can be if you actually give children the opportunity to grow and spend time with the nature. So that's another great benefit of doing nature crafts. Another benefit is that nature crafts, nature work is ecological, like, it's not like synthetic plastic craft materials that you purchase and do, because every time you do nature craft, you can just throw it to the outside because it's all biodegradable. The only thing you have to be careful is that you should remember not to damage the environment by taking too much of something. So for me and my baby, what we do is usually we collect flower petals and leaves that are fallen on the ground so that we don't have to pluck them all the time. And then once we are done with it, we'll take photos and then we'll just throw it away. And one more benefit is that nature is great for kids. So they learn a lot, not by reading textbooks or rote learning, but by spending time with nature, as I said earlier. So, for example, with my baby as well, he loves to observe, like, how the wind is blowing, how the colors in the sky is changing when it's sunsetting time, how the ants are moving and everything. And he manages to apply whatever he sees in the craft work that he does, like in this one. This, let me try. Yeah, this one. All these petals, flower petals used in the sky are done by him based on whatever he sees when it's sunsetting time. And then these little seeds are to indicate rain, and he did that. And then there is this river and crossing over the bridge. So this is how he sees the river with purple flowers and stuff. So I think there's many great benefits with doing with nature craft. And I would say, like, it's also like really healing and soothing to just be outside. You're getting fresh air, and if you go for a walk, you're also getting some exercise at the same time as well. So I would say, how do you start it? Just go outside and explore, and give yourself some me time, and give your children some free time as well, because there's lots of magic and wonder for eyes who knows how to look for curiosity and love, how to look with curiosity and love.
Thank you, Tarika. That is very impressive. And I think everyone can join in and do all this in this pandemic, because you can't actually go anywhere. But if you have trees, and obviously you'll have something there where you could exchange with your children, and then you can do crafts like this. Thank you very much, Tarika. And it's very impressive, and I'm so wowed, and it's so awesome to see that a toddler is capable of recreating what he sees. So it's really, I think it's a wonderful thing to do. So now we have Minushi Polhena, architect. So let me introduce her. She is a practicing chartered architect, a senior lecturer holding BSc, BE Honours and MSc in Architecture, PGDIP in Archaeology, AIA Sri Lanka, Green 18 GBCSL. And as I mentioned, she is a chartered architect, the co-founder and managing partner of Makwa Architects. And she's also the senior lecturer at Cliff School of Architecture. And she graduated from University of Murto and obtained postgraduate qualifications from the same university and from University of Padania, Sri Lanka. She's also an associate member of Sri Lanka Institute of Architects and associate professional of Green Building Council, Sri Lanka. She's a design team member of Muscat and Salara International Airport at Sultanate of Oman, and currently works as a managing partner, as I mentioned before. She is also a mother of 2 kids, a son and a young Yusakian as well. So her passion is for design, archaeology, art, singing, and cake making. Welcome, Minushi.
Thank you so much, Rukshani, for that wonderful introduction. And I'm so honored to be here today. And thank you, Kanchanamala, for inviting me. So I have a presentation to share with you.
Okay. So we are going to talk about how craftsmanship and how it is applied in architecture, isn't it?
Yes, we are going to talk about the architectural craftsmanship from architectural perspective. So is it good to share the screen now?
Yes, definitely. So something I learned today was also from Nisanka's presentation, that software also comes under creativity and craftsmanship. So I see architecture is also one of them.
Yes, can you see my screen?
Yes,
Or
we
are
can
there
see
any
your screen.
disturbances?
We have a small disturbance, but I think you know what to do for that. And if you go on presentation mode,
Right.
that'll be good.
Can you see it clearly now?
Yeah, if you can go on presentation mode, then it's all right, Minister.
Right. I think we are good to go. Right. So, well, I will start with how I see craftsmanship. Craftsmanship basically is skill in a particular craft, as Nisanka clearly mentioned. It is something which gives a daily life a touch of beauty and artistry. High quality custom made products can be categorized as crafts, and they shouldn't always be handmade. Craftsmanship is a basic human impulse, I should say. And with that, a sense of purpose and pride in one's work will come. Part of that is also the thoroughness and integrity that defines a product. Its ability to stand the test of the time, not only through its durability, but also its aesthetic beauty. So I would say craftsmanship in architecture is architecture worthy of pride. And further, craftsmanship is the quality that comes from creating with passion, care, and attention to details. It is a quality that sharpened, defined, and practiced over the course of a career.
Before you move on, Minushi, just I think we need to take out the controls out of your screen.
Uh, I have taken it out, but
Shall we go for an escape?
shall I stop my video and then share that? That might solve the problem.
Yeah. So first open the presentation and then share the screen.
Yeah, I will go back to the video panel and switch off my video, and then maybe it will solve the problem.
Yeah.
Please
Don't worry.
bear with
That's
me.
always, it's okay. It's always technical issues. If you don't have technical issues, then it's not a webinar. That's what I have learned throughout all these webinars.
How it is now, Rukshani?
It's the same. It's okay. Let's go ahead, Minishi. It's okay.
Right. So we call architecture is basically a combination of art and science. So we call architecture as mother of all arts. Usually a mother has many kids. Similarly, architecture too has many art forms in it. So if we talk about art forms, all the arts can be divided into three main parts, like performing art, visual art, and utility art. Architecture comes under utility art. It is the widely used utility art in the world. Therefore, my focus here will be on utility arts. Yes, we all use utilities in our daily life. Spoons, knives, watches, chairs, tables, pens. So we can name so many utilities. So have you ever looked at them as crafts, or do you just use them to get your work done? It is usually to get the utility need fulfilled, right? So then how about these? Both sets are knives. Both sets, that's the same function. But how about the aesthetic value and creating a lasting impression in your mind? And what is more attractive and appealing aesthetically? Obviously, second one. So did you ever wonder why? Why? Because it is made of so much care, giving attention to details. To give it an artistic value beyond its utilitarian value, the function, there should be something more than the function. That is how it has become a piece of art. So I will take another example. This is a chair. Both of these are chairs. The first one it's just a chair. It does the utilitarian function. And the second one has something more than that. It has an artistic value in it. And another one, this is an ancient sword and a sheath. All of these utilities have a value beyond their function. This gives a daily life a touch of beauty and artistry. Artistic value come from care in making and giving attention to details. And this applies to architectural elements too. This applies when designing buildings and built environments. That is the relationship between architecture and craftsmanship. So if I move on to building element, first picture has 2 columns and second one too has 2 columns. The second one is from Ambeke Devalaya. Both serve the same function. Both serve the function of holding the roof and transferring the load from roof to the floor. But what is more aesthetically appealing? What is pleasing to your eye? And what gives you a pleasure when you look at this? Obviously, the second one, right? The one made with great care, giving attention to details, will give you joy when you look at it. There are many other examples we can take from ancient Sri Lankan architecture. Moonstone, guardstone, Koravagala, that means the balustrade, timber doorways, have been done with great care to celebrate entering into the building. In architecture, we give so much attention to detailing because attention paid to small things have big rewards. World famous architect Mies van der Rohe once said, "God is in details." That is because real craftsmanship of architecture comes with paying attention to detailing. And I will give you another example. In first picture, you can see a shelter. It has a roof and walls, and it serves one of the basic needs of human beings. Second one too is a shelter. Can you spot the difference between these two? While facilitating the basic need shelter, second one gives much more to the occupants. And further, if we talk about high-rise living, the first one is a mere building which serves the function, but the second one is a design done with much care, giving something more to the society than just serving its purpose for the inhabitants. 4 walls and a roof will give you a building, a place to live, but would that be enough? How are you going to make a house a home? The famous poet and philosopher Khalil Gibran once said, "Your house is your larger body." What is the difference between house and a home? Let's see the difference. A house simply gives you a physical or utilitarian comfort. It is functional and it works. But a home gives you the physical comfort as well as the psychological and spiritual comfort. House becomes home when it speaks to its dwellers. To make a home out of a house, you need to give a personal touch. You need to create it as a masterpiece unique to that particular family. There cannot be similar places anywhere on earth where they can call home other than this. So how are you going to do that? You need to design the house with great craftsmanship skills, giving so much attention to details. We create architecture not only to please eye, it should cater all 5 senses. You can see, you can hear, you can taste, you can smell, and you can feel architecture. And you carry away memories of them. So I will give you examples if you don't believe. If I take your memory back to the experience you got at a resort near a beach versus a resort at Nuwara Eliya, can you recall what you smelled? Near beach, it's heavy, salty smell and taste, isn't that so? And at Nuwara Eliya, it's fresh pine smell and taste, isn't it? So architecture is a collective experience, links with your memory. It's not just mere buildings. Now I will show you a few examples of how you can create architectural space with great craftsmanship. I will explain it under three main points. First one is use of light and shade. The second one is use of color. And the third one is use of correct proportions. There are so many other things, but since the time is limit, I'm going to focus on to these three areas. First one is use of light and shade. This is how you usually get light into the interiors. It's just a simple window and it serves the function. And there's another options of using the same sunlight in a different way to make your interior a piece of art. How about these? These are few examples of how you can use daylight effectively to give different ambiances and to create different moods throughout the day. With the sun path, these shades will change, right? So the same space will feel differently. In the morning, maybe the shadow of pergolas will be straight, and in the afternoon, it will run through the other corner. So likewise, the same space will give you different feelings throughout the day just by using one building element in a correct way. So this is another example of that. And second example I take is use of color. So this is an empty space. By giving it a touch of color, the space would be totally different. We all know that there are meanings to colors, right? We have cool colors, we have warm colors in our color wheel, which we can use to give a cold or warm feeling by using those. Colors can evoke different feelings in your mind. We use red to express love, and yellow is the color of happiness, and blue is the color of calmness, and black gives you a gloomy feeling, and grays are basically neutral. So you can use colors in such a way to give different feelings and create different moods. So these are a few examples for them. If I take your attention to the orange color space, orange is a happy color too, a warm color. So you feel happy when you are in that space. You can visually change the size of space by using color in different way. I will show you a few examples. This is the same space, but here if you use light color will enlarge the space, and dark colors will absorb the light and make the space compacted and smaller and cozier. So according to your need, you can use color. And another example, dark ceilings will lower the space, and painting the walls in darker colors and leaving the ceiling white would make it feel like higher ceiling. So these are the magic color can make. So, but we need to be careful when we are using that. We shouldn't evoke the wrong feelings in wrong spaces when we are designing architecture, when we are doing architecture. So we should be tactful when we are using color. These are only a few examples on how to use the color to make and feel space differently. So using correct proportion is the third one I'm going to point out. This is golden proportion. It is a ratio that decides the universal beauty. The proportion which appeals as pleasing to eye universally, not only one person. The ratio is 1 to 1.618. So nature has followed the golden ratio, and in nature we can see those golden proportion, and in most of the famous artworks we can see that. And this can apply to architecture too. Architectural masterpieces with correct proportions are timeless. For an example, Taj Mahal in India. Correct proportions are always eye-pleasing, and it will add an aesthetic value to your creation. And there are so many other aspects that we can consider when detailing a space, like having different textures, solids and void ratios, and detailed architectural elements, and list goes on. And finally, I would like to mention one thing. The meaning of the word architect is master builder, which has been derived from Greek architekton. Even in today's construction industry, architect is the lead consultant of a design project, of a building project, and he's the one who is responsible for the quality of the output. Therefore, the craftsmanship of building depends on the design and the construction supervision done by the architect. So I would like to conclude by saying an architects in creating built environment, as architects, if we can make each and every work of ours a masterpiece by giving attention to little details, they will collectively make this world a beautiful, craftful place to live. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Munisi. Thank you. And next we have another person joining in as a panelist. She is the founder and designer behind House of Lonali, the brand for all who believe there is unique beauty in every floor. And House of Lonali is a conscious designer brand that creates uncompromising fashion and style while caring for people and the planet. As soon as she graduated from the University of Northumbria, she decided to take the challenge of starting her own social enterprise, House of Lonali, as the first upcycling fashion brand from Sri Lanka, designing and crafting beautiful, unique pieces from textile waste. With a circular mindset, she minimizes the impact of production and consumption on the planet and creates a positive impact. She is none other than Lonali Rodrigo, CEO, lead designer of House of Lonali. Hi, Lonali. How are you?
Hi, Ruki, and thank you for having me again. I thank Misaka OGA for having me, and I'm going to jump into the question. What is my question?
Yeah, so, okay. What about craftsmanship? In your journey, how you have explored and what you have done. And I love your dress. I believe that's from Upcycling House of Lonali as well.
Yes, I'll explain about my dress also. But before that, I'll just start off with the beginning of my journey, of course. So I think even before being a designer, I was exploring a lot of craft. So I'm not going to go into what craft exactly, but I will, throughout my talk, I will be telling a little bit about each craft. So first thing I think I put my hand on was batik, even before going into design college. Just went for a class, started learning about batik, and then I will never forget because I have a burn in my hand. It is a way of dyeing textiles with making a print with wax. That's a simple technique, which is a traditional technique in Sri Lanka. I think it's about 80 years old. We've been doing it since 1950s. And right now it's quite a popular, one of the most popular crafts that we know and we wear. The next thing I went to after going to design college, I picked textiles and handloom as a specialized project and learned how to do weaving. So it was so fun. I selected it thinking it's fun to learn handloom, but it's so much time and effort that you have to put. It's about 52 inch threads per inch. And then if you make a sari, there's about 48 inches. So into 48, 52 into 48, then you have to basically thread it to a reed, and 3 times, like if you think of a needle, you have to thread it 3 times through a needle, right? So this is completely done by hand, right? People. So then that goes to a weaving machine and we hand weave. I don't know if you have seen it. It's a lot of exercise. You have to go this way and your hands and the legs have to work together. A lot of effort. I mean, I did it on a little table loom when I had to learn. But to be honest, the artisans who are making your handloom sari or the handloom kurta top you're wearing, it's a lot of time that they take. And then after being a designer, of course, the first few years of being a designer, I explored all the type of crafts that I could explore within Sri Lanka. Thank you so much. Sri Lanka is such a place that we have so many skilled artisans and so much of craft. We should be blessed to be here. So starting from Biralu, which is in down south, we got it from Portuguese culture. And there are it's a way of weaving lace on a particular technique on a bed, Biralu kotte, and then you weave the lace, and then hem to reed to cane. These are crafts you've seen. You go to Kandy, you see Vevaldeniya, known for reed and cane. Then you go to another place, Pilimatalawa, you see brass. Then you go towards north, there's Palmyra, Pang. This Sri Lanka is such a place that you have everything. But sadly, we'll go to the sad part later, but before that, I'm going to show you some stuff that I've done with these people throughout my journey. So first thing that I'm going to take is this. I don't know if you can see this. So this is something that I've done for my one of my first collection back in 2012. This is hand knitted in Mullatiu in Malawi. It was a community of war widows back in 2011. I visited just after the war and worked with them, teaching them knitting and getting their skill into a product. So this is one of my first collection. Yes, it was a show piece, but still love it. And this is one of it. It's knitted by, and also the fabric is also from Textured Jersey. It was a collaboration project where their Textured Jersey is a knitting fabric knitting factory, which gave me the waste fabric to be knitted into something new. And then we have another dress, which is patched work. So I'm also wearing something patched work today. So this was patched work and embroidered and quilted. So this dress basically has so many crafts in one. I'm sure it's not very clear, but then this is cut work, this is embroidery, and also some block printing all together. So it's a bit of a complicated one, but to tell you about my dress, this is something actually my mother-in-law put together with her waste fabric. So in Sri Lanka, the other nice part is it's not just the traditional craft. There's so many women who are skilled at home who are doing craft work. So it doesn't have to be the traditional things that we already know about, you know, batik and lumis, things that are more commercial and more traditional. But things like patchwork, knitting are things that women at home are doing sometimes to earn even extra income. In my case, my mother-in-law's retirement hobby is making patchwork stuff. So that's again, I have to say, Sri Lanka has all that in one place. The third one is, if you can see this tapestry. So this tapestry is something that I did for MA's Nirmana factory with the architect Amila Dimel. So this is basically their own waste fabrics. This is 100% upcycled, and the thread that's come off from the apparel industry put together, and even the wooden frame is pallet wood that was wasted. So putting together all lot of waste into a nice product. And again, it was my design, but the effort was craftsmanship. This is woven by a lady in Diulapitiya. So I worked with about 60 weavers in Madam Pala Diulapitiya area. And this was woven by Dayavati, who is about, I think she's quite old. She's about 60 years old. She knows the craft very well. So sitting with the artisan, giving my design knowledge and combining with the technical knowledge was this is the outcome of that. Then I have another product, which is again, this is a tapestry. Part of a tapestry, actually, a part of a wall artwork. But we also did a lot of other products. So what is the beauty is when you explore and experiment craft, you can, create other product as well, like when you should say, then you go into utility products, see what we can apply this technique to. So this is actually, anybody wants to guess what this is? Rookie?
Is it a safe sucker sort of thing?
Yeah, it looks like a sesata, but this is actually, again, waste fabric put together with palmyra. So this was made in Punkudutiu, even off Jaffna, in a little island, a community of women who actually, they have the whole supply chain of plucking palmyra leaves and cutting it and then dyeing it and then making it. So this tapestry was a combination of palmyra weaving technique and the waste fabric put together. So this was also a display at MAS Warnville, which I did for them. So that's basically some of the products that I've done in a more larger scale, how I got involved with the artisans. But after starting the brand, so the story behind House of Lonali is, of course, in Sri Lanka, we have an apparel sector where there's a lot of waste, fabric waste. So as a designer, I always thought, why should I go behind new fabrics? Why can't I use the waste fabric that is already coming from the factories, which are either being burned or ended up in landfills? So what can I do with this? At the same time, I had the whole my journey of going around Sri Lanka looking for craftsmen. So I knew there was skill and the craftsmanship was there to upcycle. So what we basically do at House of Lonali is take the waste, merge with the craftsmanship, we design a product and put it out. That's what basically House of Lonali does. So talking about the brand, I'll show you a few more products from the brand because I also want to show you all that craftsmanship go beyond traditions and traditional stuff, and it needs to be modernized. So this is something that we've done. One of our iconic products are shoes, and then this is one of the shoes that we've done for a special collection. So this is completely handmade. So a shoemaker is also, I think, a cobbler is a skilled person. It's a craft. And this shoe especially has the embroidery and beadwork. That is also part of the craftsmanship. So this is one of our products that we make. We do the shoes, but this is even more special with the hand embroidery and the beadwork. So this is one product. And then, of course, the other product is one of our bestsellers, the books. So if you making paper craft and working with paper is a very modern craft, and I think there's a lot of people who are involved right now as even small enterprises. So this book is made out of recycled paper, and the cover is upcycled. So this is also completely handmade, and people make a living out of making these products. So that's the best part of craftsmanship. It's a livelihood. So this is the recycled paper. It's natural, mixed with banana fiber. And then you have the upcycled fabric, and the book is made. The other part is all our products, if you can see, even the book has a little tab here. So this tab is something I can get. I mean, this is nothing new. Obviously, you must have seen it in a lot of your garments. But you can also get it down from China easily. If I made a 10,000 piece order, yes, I can definitely get it down. But this is handcrafted and hand carved. So as a brand, we always try to work with craftsmanship and give that opportunity to our own craftsmen. So this was done by one of the veteran brass workers from Kalapura in Kandy. He actually passed away 2 years ago, but I continue to work with his family because he's also in the Kalapura, which is an area of a lot of other artisans. So he make the hand carved. It's pricey. I will get into why the price craftsmanship is a bit pricey, but this is something that we add to all our products to give that fine finish. I think we mentioned about attention to detail. So this is the amount of time that we put to create a product, craft a product, design a product with upcycling and also the great effort of craftsmanship.
Thank you, Lanali. I think you work with a lot of people and you're helping a lot of people. That is about entrepreneurship and merging entrepreneurship and craftsmanship together. I'm really proud that you're making us proud. Thank you very much, Lanali. Okay, so we spoke to all our panelists in the first round. I think it's high time for us to go and see about our sponsors. So our technical team, let's go about and see a little bit of our sponsors who are actually collaborating with us for this webinar. Once again, thank you very much for our sponsors and welcome back to the final episode of an effective monthly webinar series presented by the Social Activities Subcommittee of the Visakha Vidyalaya All Girls Association. And we are in the webinar, the final webinar named as Building the World Through Craftsmanship. I'm moving back to our first panelist, Dr. Nisanka Kosomsevi. Nisanka, Sri Lanka is not usually driven by an entrepreneurial culture, right? So how do you think about craftsmanship being an entrepreneurship business idea? And how can the factors could be considered, whether it's good or bad for a craftsman to enter the business as an entrepreneur? What are your thoughts on it?
Okay, let me go back to the presentation because some of the important ideas are put down together in the presentation. Yeah. So, yeah, basically about craftsmanship and the creative industries and how a craft activity could become an entrepreneurial pursuit. So now here in this picture, we can see our Lonali as well. Because when I put together the ideas for the presentation, I thought it's quite appropriate considering the range of the products. It's not just the, if I use any other example from the craft sector, it could be a craft business, portraying either pottery or wood carving or something like that. But now here it's fashion, but it is across vast areas. Not only fashion, also interior design items as well. So that's why I used this picture here. How craftsmanship could be developed from craftsmanship to entrepreneurship, right? Both involves this ship thing, right? So, yeah. So basically, if we look at entrepreneurship in the creative industries and craft industry, including, craft and creative industries, both one and the same. We use the term creative industries here kind of interchangeably to describe the same thing. So as you said, in Sri Lanka, we don't have that much of an entrepreneurial culture, specifically in the craft sector. So why it is important? Entrepreneurship is anyway important for a development of a country, to foster innovation, to create job opportunities. But why craft industries, craftsmanship or creative industry is particularly important. Why it is so important? Why do we need to consider entrepreneurship as an important aspect of craftsmanship? Because if you, I mean, most of the the products presented by Lonali spoke about this aspect, where craftsmanship is actually part of the society. It's in the blood of people who do this. So when we create entrepreneurship from craftsmanship, as she also had rightly pointed out, Roki, we create a lot of job opportunities in the grassroots level of society, where some of these people, especially women, marginalized societies sometimes, women who have a lot of issues, household issues and problems, they can have livelihood and jobs that they can do from their home while attending to their other work. That is something very important. I mean, someone might argue why, I mean, only women, men also important to provide livelihood for both of them, but women at a certain point in their lives mostly have to drop their, passion and career sometimes because of household responsibilities and all. So to provide job opportunities and to raise their livelihood, to create something for them, it is also very important, because most of the crafts are done by manual work, either men or women, or grassroots level of the society in all marginalized communities as well. And the other thing is cultural and social sustainability, passing out a certain kind of a craft from generation to generation, like Biralu or Batik. You can see it's a culture, it's a way of life that we pass from generation to generation. So cultural sustainability is something very important if we look at fashion and other craft sectors. So entrepreneurship in that sense, in the creative industries, is particularly important because we contribute to this cultural sustainability. Not only creating economic sustainability, but cultural and social sustainability. And another important aspect of entrepreneurship in the craft industry is it's actually labor intensive, these craft sectors. Like Lonali said, so many hours are spent on doing something, so many people get together to create something. So it is very labor intensive, not done by machines. So particularly, this is very important in creating job opportunities. And also, if you look at the development of a country, okay, now still Sri Lanka, I think we are focusing on manufacturing-based economy, right? We're slowly moving into creative and service-oriented economy, but still we are mainly manufacturing-oriented economy. But if you look at the developed part of the world, it's creative economy that is more prominent. Now in Sri Lanka also, we have plans to become a creative hub of the South Asia, and all these plans cannot be fulfilled if we neglect the crafts sector in creating entrepreneurship. So those aspects are quite important compared to the other sectors of the entrepreneurship. I mean, entrepreneurship in a way is important, but craft sector facilitates a lot of cultural, social sustainability, as well as creating economy. So if entrepreneurship in this sector is very important, how we could actually introduce and foster entrepreneurship into this sector. Now, if you have seen entrepreneurial development programs in Sri Lanka, I think Lonali might know, most of these programs are actually targeting on mainstream entrepreneurship. Right? Most of these programs do not really focus on specific characteristics of craftsmanship and craft creative industry entrepreneurship. So why do we need different strategies for crafts and creative industry entrepreneurship? Unless we focus on the specific qualities, unique qualities and characteristics of this sector, we will not be able to fully support and foster this sector, right? So that is why we have to, I think it's kind of very important that we understand why do we need different strategies. So because of certain unique characteristics of this sector as an entrepreneurial activity. So first of all, there are some, unique characteristics that are actually specifically aligned with the sector. One is the abstract and artistic nature of creative industries. So if you look at fashion or any other creative industry, the product, the outcome, sometimes we might not be able to directly analyze the outcome, whether weave the outcome as, what benefit this would deliver. Some of the benefits are functional, like utilitarian benefits are there, but some are emotional benefits, right? Some are artistic, abstract, we cannot really describe. So in the process of creating something so abstract and artistic in nature, the process is very different from the mainstream entrepreneurship. Right? So for a different process, we need to have different set of strategies to foster that. And another important aspect or unique characteristic of the craft-based entrepreneurship is we deliver symbolic values, intangible and social meanings to our products. What does this mean? So basically, if you look at a craft product, fashion, or music, or architecture, like initially earlier, like architect Minushi Pauline pointed out, I remember she showed these two pictures of two resorts, one at the beach and the other the hill country. So she described the feelings that you get, right? Feelings that you get and how emotionally, the difference this experience is. So that is exactly what it means. If you look at fashion now, see, this is a famous designer called Westwood. So her creations are mainly kind of inspired by punk movement. That is a social cultural movement in the UK that showed in the 70s era the alienation and dissatisfaction that youth generation experienced. So in rebellious approach, they actually purposely wore these torn out clothes, used safety pins to attach their torn out pieces of clothes to show their dissatisfaction and alienation in this society. So that kind of has inspired, has a lot of social meaning, a lot of symbolic values in these products beyond what we can see. So it offers intangible meanings. Right? Creative industries, craft-based entrepreneurship practices are very important beyond the utilitarian or the functional benefit of the product to seek the symbolic values, as Minoshaki pointed out. Right? What kind of feelings we deliver, what kind of emotions, what kind of social meanings we create. So in that aspect, crafts-based entrepreneurship or creative industry entrepreneurship is very different and unique from the mainstream entrepreneurship. And another important aspect, again, kind of quite connected with the previous point, Rocky, it is we deliver sensory experience, ideas and emotions. Right? If you listen to music or we go to a resort, as Minushaki said, it's not just consuming that product. Right? It's not just consuming that utilitarian aspect of the product. It's the experience that we, feel. If we wear clothes, wear something, how we want to live in that clothes to convey ourselves, convey our identity, to show the world that the role that we fulfill in this society and how we, kind of be part of our crowd and also kind of want to stand out of the crowd at the same time. So it is a lot of ideas, a lot of emotions, a lot of sensory experience that we deliver through crafts-based entrepreneurship, crafts-based products. Right, whatever the product that we create, it's not just the utilitarian aspect of this product. And another important aspect here is the difference in the way the creator perceive their success and performance. This is also something very unique to the craft sector. Beyond the profit, beyond the the income, the creative acclaim, personal satisfaction. I mean, those are important for anyone who's doing anything. But in the craft sector, sometimes these are very prominent to an extent. Some craftspeople are just happy doing what they want, just expressing their creativity and creative identity, to put part of myself into the world for others to see. That's all that matters in the beginning for some craft entrepreneurs. There are downside of that, as well, but this is a characteristic of the creative and craftsmanship based entrepreneurship. And another very, very important aspect here is the need to balance between the creative and management values. We know when we have a creative or craftsmanship-based activity, it is intuitive. Our design process is intuitive and it's very spontaneous. Right? And it's also experimental, it's right brain, right? So it is not like really planned methodical process sometimes. But what happens when we start a business based on these ideas? Right? Business has certain requirements, certain commercial requirements. Now, Lonali might know very well. You cannot just run a business by using your intuition and spontaneous, experimental nature. You need to balance between the business demands and the creative expression. So, in business demands, you have it's a strategic process mostly. And it's logical, it's planned, systematic, and structured. So what happens for a very creative person who convert their creativity or craftsmanship-based activity into an enterprise? What happens there? There is a disjunction sometimes at a certain point to manage these two. They find it quite difficult than in other entrepreneurial sectors, like in the mainstream entrepreneurship. For crafts-based or creative entrepreneur, creative industry entrepreneur, it is quite difficult to manage or the balance. Some are successful, some struggle. So the need to balance between the creative and management values is a very strong, unique characteristic of this sector. So these are the factors that we need to consider when we convert our craftsmanship-based activity into an enterprise, right? Because of this uniqueness, Ruki, we cannot really use mainstream entrepreneurship-based strategies, support programs, initiatives, all of that focusing on just the mainstream entrepreneurship. Right? If we want to foster craftsmanship-based creative industry entrepreneurship in this country, that is why I earlier said it is very important that we map our crafts, industries and identify their characteristics, because otherwise, what happens is that we target those industries also through the mainstream entrepreneurship strategies and initiatives. Can I move on? Is it too long? Because some of the things.
Do you have a lot more?
A few ideas that I want to really emphasize. Something that is about when we start a craft-based enterprise. One important aspect, because of these unique values and unique characteristics, it is very important that we consider the self-identity and personal values of crafts entrepreneur. Right? Because if you are going to be an entrepreneur, converting your crafts-based activity into an enterprise, first of all, you need to understand what is your identity, what is your self-identity and what are your personal values. So based on these personal identities and values, there are three kinds of enterprises actually with the original rationale that they start business. I might not have time to go through these three, but I just show you these are the spectrum of personal values that an entrepreneur want to express through their enterprise. Right? So there are value assessment systems that have been created and identified in research. So my practical approach here is that if anyone wants to convert their craftsmanship into an enterprise, this value mapping system, if you follow the system and identify what values that drive your entrepreneurial pursuit, right? And then only you can actually create, for example, for Lonali, perhaps this contribution, environmental sustainability might have been important, and also expressing your creative identity might have been important. If you don't recognize this from the beginning, what happens is that there is a discrepancy between your strategies and the process, right? So to avoid that, when you start a business, if you want to create your craftsmanship activity into an enterprise, convert that into an enterprise, we need to understand what is important for us to achieve through this. Then only we can actually manage this creativity business tension, right? By managing that correctly, we can really become a successful entrepreneur, because initially for any crafts based on enterprise, the main initial objective would be to express their creative identity. But to become successful economically, we need to redefine that identity and manage the creativity business tension, as I said earlier. So to do that, we need to understand what is important for us and how, find out who you are and do it on purpose. So that is basically my idea of converting craftsmanship into entrepreneurship. And also, Ruki, one small thing, I actually like to thank OGA also for OGA's Kanchanamala and all of you who gave me this opportunity to present my ideas here, as well as being able to contribute to something like this. This is an honor that I got through my school. So thanks a lot, and good luck with all of everything that you do. Right? Thanks.
Thank you, Nisanga. Thank you very much. It's an honor to have you here. And we actually, summing up what you said, was we have separate strategies for craftsmanship and entrepreneurship together. And then there are unique characteristics in craftsmanship, and then you're working on entrepreneurs with them. And usually when we come on to craftsmanship entrepreneurs, craft-based entrepreneurs, they have their personal identity and values, which they actually carry with them. And that also we should mainly manage the business tension by their doing their as entrepreneurs as well. So that's the summing up for Dr. Nisanka. Thank you very much, Dr. Nisanka. Bear with us. We have another 3 more panelists to go along. And I'll move on to Taruka again. Taruka, so you work with your toddler and on all these aspects, right? So you have been a play personnel, as I mentioned before, at this Cancer Institute as well. So when you actually work with them, what difference do you see in children, as in their growth and development, when you use these craft activities, when you work with them, when you do craft activities with them? Do you see any development from and a growth perspective, actually, whether they have grown onto understanding how nature works and how crafts has helped them as well? So Taruka, over to you. I know it's midnight in Australia.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much for joining with us, despite all the cold.
Yes. All right. So yeah, to answer that question, so I can only answer based on my personal experience working with my own baby as well as the cancer hospital. So I'll start with talking about the, working with the children in the cancer hospital. So it's attached to NUH, and I've been working there for a couple of years, and every weekend I went there. So these are inpatient wards, which means that, you know, there are patients who are receiving long-term treatments for different types of cancer. So I don't have to say how it feels like and what the atmosphere there is like. So as a trained art and craft play personnel to these kids, what I've noticed is that art and craft can really, really significantly help them in many ways. First of all, it helps to break the ice between myself and the parent and the guardian and the patient. And it also helps to build a good rapport with each other. And it's fun and it's interactive. And it's also helping the patient to stimulate their minds rather than just sleeping on a bed all the time, because they're already tired and they don't have any other social interaction apart from the hospital staff and the parent or the guardian that they are with. So this is a great way to relieve the stress and the pain. And for a few hours of the stuff that we do together, they basically forget. After some time, they forget that where they are and the pain that they're going through. So that's a really significant thing. And when I'm working with, yeah, are you going to ask a question?
Yes,
or?
yeah, Taruka, I was just trying to actually, so we don't have this designation or sort of thing, which is called a play personnel. So would you please describe that a little bit, and then we'll carry on?
Yeah, so as a play personnel, what we are supposed to do is like we get trained on how to communicate with patients and what art and craft is and how you should interact with a child and all this stuff. And as a play personnel, what we do is like we are assigned a certain number of patients, basically one whole ward, and then there are 8 patients in there. So we try to encourage the patients, the little kids, to, if possible, be engaged with some creative activities or painting or even reading a story time or whatsoever, so as to, you know, relieve their stress, to make them forget about things. And because they don't have any friends, as I said, they don't go to school for months as well. So yeah, in terms of like just a support role for the patients, as long as they are in the wards receiving treatments in the long term. So that's what a play personnel is. And then going back to your question, the first question, so what was the question? Oh, yes. Yeah, so when I get, so basically because it's long-term patients, most of the time I get the same patients. So they know me. Every weekend I go and they love to do stuff and they tell me what to do. But if it's a new patient, what I do is I try to take it slowly, because I'm also not really sure how to approach them initially, because I'm not sure whether they would like to open up or whatsoever. So I'll ask them what kind of art and craft they would like to do. And then I will let them do it, taking their own time. And then I will slowly start to interact by asking questions, like if they are doing some coloring, and if they're doing it in pink color, I'll ask, oh, so you're drawing it in pink color. Is there any special reason to draw it in pink color? And slowly try to communicate. And then little by little, they start to open up. And after some time, they are kids and they forget everything. And they just start telling all kinds of stories and they want to share things and do together stuff. So that's the same kind of approach I use with my baby as well, since small days when I'm doing art and craft, because my brain's tendency is to come to conclusions. Like recently also my baby was drawing some circles, doing some painting. So my conclusion was that, oh, he's drawing some wheels because he just loved cars. But then 90% of the time, although we adults try to like, interpret things, toddlers and babies, kids, their imagination is so vivid and wild. So whatever we think is not, maybe most of the time may not be what they're drawing. So when I asked my baby, what are you drawing with the circles, although I thought it's wheels, he was telling me he's actually writing his name with circles. So I was like surprised, oh, you're writing your name with circles, okay. So yeah, so I'm going to show you some simple art and craft activities that I did with my baby, which really doesn't cost much, but how it helped, how I've seen how it has helped him to grow his vocabulary and his thinking process and everything. So I'll start sharing the screen again. Yeah, so I'm going to start with this great activity that I did with my baby. So he loves trains and he knows a lot about trains after reading a lot of books and stuff. So for this one, I just used recyclable boxes and then coloring watercolors and acrylic painting. And the only thing that I had to buy was the balloons. So this was something really fun for me and the baby, because my baby is really impatient most of the time. I think all toddlers they are impatient, and he was wanting to try this. But while we were doing this, because it took me 2 days because I'm working full time. So once I come home, I'll just work on this. So for some days, he was really patient. He knew that the paint needs to dry, the glue needs to dry in order for his hands to get on this one. So in one way, it's teaching him to be a little bit patient. And then when I was doing this black color funnel, the steam funnel, he was asking, where is the steam in the steam train? Then I was like, oh, clever boy, I forgot about the steam. And then I thought, okay, maybe I'll put some balloons. So then when I brought the balloons, he was asking, are these going to go up to the moon? So then the simple answer would be yes, of course, because it's helium balloons. But I thought maybe he should investigate himself. So I said, why don't you try sending one up and see if it's going? And that was the happiest baby. He was like, look, it's going up to the moon. And then likewise, he started, because he knows what a steam engine looks like and what are the parts. So he started his thinking process and he was trying to figure out what are the missing parts in the train when I'm already trying hard to, something to make looks like a train. And he was asking me, where is the steam dome? Then I had to make another steam dome, which is what you can see here. And then suddenly he was saying, why aren't the wheels connected with the rod? Because the piston needs to move. Then I was like, oh yeah, now I need to connect the wheels as well. And then after a while, soon after I finished this, he started putting grass inside this funnel. And I was feeling like, no, please don't mess it up. I just made it. But I didn't want to say that to him. And I just observed what he was doing. And I asked, why are you putting grass to the funnel? And then he was like, Mommy, this is a steam train and you need to put coal. This is not grass, it's coal. You need to put coal to the firebox so there will be steam and the train will work. And so that's a lot of thinking process was involved in him. And he was so curious to experiment things. And once it was all set to go, I asked him to sit. So he was sitting with his friends, the teddy bears and all. And then I took him round and round and he started singing songs. So it was such a great experience to do this with him. And it really didn't cost much. And it was a great learning experience as well for him. So the second one would be this, I call it the Peekaboo Sea Adventure. It's really simple to make. I'll just stop sharing the screen for a while and just show this one. So it's just using cardboard and white paper to make a torch like this, and then a Ziploc bag and this black color paper, and then some colored marker pens. So it's like a 3 minutes activity. So I could have easily made this on my own and asked my baby to, okay, I made this, you can play. But I wanted him to be part of this. So what I did was I said, okay, we are going to make some sea adventure activities. So can you tell me some of the sea creatures that you know? So he started to think and he told me octopus. So then I started to ask some questions about the octopus, and he wanted the octopus to be blue color. So I don't know whether there's any blue color octopuses, but I didn't want to saying no, maybe choose another color. I just wanted him to know that his ideas are heard and that it matters to me. So I drew it in blue color. And then he wanted a puffer fish. So again, I drew the puffer fish, and then I kept asking like, which one you like most? And then he asked me, which character do you like most, and all this stuff. So I'm going to share the screen to show like he's just experimenting it like that. So he was searching the animals, and after doing this activity, he figured out, okay, if it's dark, you can't see anything, but if there is some light in the dark, then you might be able to see stuff. So that was another great experience, and it's really simple to make. So the reason I'm showing this is just to give some idea of what kind of simple activities that you can do with your kids, but what kind of great learning experience that you can give them as well. So the next one I want to show is I like to do a lot of science experiments, mini science experiments with my baby, not because I want to make him a nerdy person, but it's really exciting. And there's a lot of way that he can visualize things, and later on he applies those to, when he's building some Legos or whatsoever. And it's pretty simple stuff. It doesn't cost anything as well. So the first one I'm going to show is a balloon rocket. So what happens is he loves balloons. And since I made this balloon rocket, every single time there's a balloon, he is going to just call it rocket balloon. And the concept is that, to make something move, there must be a force on it. And as the balloon releases that, the balloon is the rocket here, it creates a forward motion. So I'll just show you that one now. So the next one was the balloon car, the same concept, but this was a car. So I used just a cardboard piece, a straw, some Lego lid, the yogurt lids, and a balloon, and it was a car, and he loved that car until it broke. And the next one is about inhaling and exhaling, because he knows certain human organs, so like the heart and the lungs, and he knows that we have 2 lungs. And after doing this activity, he learned new words, and he may not know, the exact process of how things work, but he catches up certain words, and he knows we have 2 lungs, and when we inhale, we are getting oxygen, and the lungs get big and all this stuff. And again, this is just using some recyclable materials and some colored paper that I was easily able to find from my home. So the balloons are the lungs. Balloons are the lungs. Yes, so these are some of the really simple, really cost effective. I mean, it really doesn't cost much craft activities that I've done with my baby. There's a lot to share, but I don't have time to do that. But what I want to share is that, it really doesn't take much time. It doesn't cost you much, but the potential of the child learning so much is immense. Like, it's fun, it's interactive, and you're creating great moments and memories by doing these spending quality time with your child together. And you're also able to see how your child is developing, in the sense, I see how my baby is picking up new words, I see how he's trying to connect missing pieces, and how his thinking process is going on while he's doing something. And so for the child, it's about, asking questions, being curious about what's going to happen. Also, it's also about breaking stuff. He loves to break stuff. So that's part of, this whole thing. And it's okay. You need to acknowledge that sometimes things break. That's it. So it's not about the final product. It's about this whole process of doing things together that makes it more worthwhile, rather than, spending time watching a screen or something, I would say. So I would say to parents, from my personal experience, help to create a generation of kids who are curious, who are inquisitive, who wants to learn, who wants to explore things and ask questions and think. And most importantly, help to create a generation of kids who love nature, who wants to be part of nature, and who thinks that our environment is part and parcel of our lives. And one best way to do that is through spending quality time doing art and craft and spending time with nature.
Thank you,
That's all.
Taraka. Thank you very much. Thank you. So I'll quickly move on to Minushi, because we have a time limitation at the moment. So Minushi, what do you think about the current trends and the way forward for building a better world through architecture?
I think I have a few slides for that as well, because I earlier showed part of my presentation. So please let me share my screen.
Definitely.
Can you see the screen now? Hello? Am I?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we all know that, it's building is not a new thing for us, right? We all know that man has been building since time immemorial, and it was initially a mere shelter. But when we do architecture, we don't just build mere buildings which only support utilitarian function or shelter. We design it to be an art for a drama of daily life to take place. It's not just buildings we design outside too, where people use as societies. We design for people. Therefore, it's a social art. Architecture is used to shape the environment in which we live. Not only buildings, we design built environments, which incorporate the parks, gathering spaces, common spaces, meeting places, public spaces, and so on. So architecture can have a huge impact on people's lives. It is a medium through which people can deal with their emotions. I'm not going to explain them since we are running out of time. It is intertwined with culture and art of the country. And architecture is influenced by country's climate too. So these sloping roofs are made because it's a snowy country. And it depends on the readily available materials and social patterns. And architecture is intertwined not only with culture, and art, but also with science and economy too. And architecture can provide solutions, successful solutions to many of the problems that exist in the world today. Solutions can be found to problems such as how to adapt to world population growth, how to adapt to natural disaster, and how to maximize the human interaction with the natural environment. And architecture can reflect culture and art and enhance the quality of life of the people and develop the economy through innovations. One of the factors that help to judge people's civilization, culture, and intellect is their architecture. For an example, if you look at Greek, Roman, or Egyptian civilization, or our own Anuradhapura civilization, by looking at these and their architecture, we can be amazed how capable they were. So through architecture, we set standards for our contemporary society. So are we going to set the standards low and give a message to future generation that we are not capable? Or are we going to set our standards high so that the future generations to come will have something to be proud of? The best way to show our country's identity to the world is through country's architecture. And tropical modernism can be mentioned as a trendy architectural style which shows our identity and which goes in hand with sustainability. So I think the sustainable way of building is the way forward for building a better world through craftsmanship in relation to architecture. So let's see what sustainability is. It's basically we do not use everything available at present. While using, we keep something for future as well. And that is the basic principle of sustainability, but we can talk more on sustainability in different ways. So if we go back to the principles of craftsmanship, they are basically excellence, beauty, and durability, which can pave a path to more sustainable world. When talking about a way forward for building a better world and how we can apply above principles to architecture, we can point out, I can point out few factors. We need to design buildings with great care, giving attention to details, as some of our speakers already mentioned, and that will determine how you save energy within the building. And it will give a timeless beauty despite of changing trends of the contemporary world, and will stand its full lifespan without causing any problem. And we should design for future. The building should represent the era it has been designed, but they should design considering the future too. The buildings that exhibit the quality of craftsmanship are timeless, I can say. So we can appreciate those works of art without being bound by the time. An architect should be a good craftsman to design the built environment in such a way to save energy for future. So this is one of those one of our contemporary architects who has thought in a green way of building. I will talk about how we can go for sustainable measures. Sustainability is not a new concept for us as Sri Lankans. In our past, we had a sustainable lifestyle. It was so nature related. We lived in harmony with nature. We conceived natural products as foods and as utilities, and even for architecture. Ancient way of building was very much sustainable. For an example, all the building materials used for construction were from locality. We had wattle and daub houses and thatched roofed houses in the past. All the time we returned what we got from nature. And it was same for the materials we use for construction too. But what has happened today? Can we return what we get from nature in its original state? No, because we have deviated from natural to artificial. We use a lot of high energy consumed products for our buildings. Instead of wood, we use aluminum for doors and windows, and steel. Instead of soil, we use cement for construction. These materials have a lot of embedded energy in them, and they are not sustainable, and they pollute the environment too. And we waste a lot of material in construction, which is also energy. And a recent research has shown that the building industry is the highest energy consumer in the world, and it is 48% of total energy use. Therefore, going for less energy use buildings with green concept incorporated is a must in today's world. Using renewable energy sources in buildings and passive energy measures are becoming increasingly popular in today's context in relation to building industry. So I think architects' craftsmanship skills to be focused on how to incorporate those sustainable concepts to design buildings and built environments in order to build a better world for our next generation to come. Uh, from total energy consumption of building, 50%, 55% is used for light and ventilation. So if we can get it reduced, it is easy to make a less energy use building. So I will share 3 simple measures with you, which we can incorporate when designing modern day buildings to save energy. They are basically use of natural light, use of natural ventilation, and using of vegetation. Uh, First one, use of natural lighting instead of artificial lighting. For this, we need to know from which direction light comes from, so that you can orientate your building in such a way to get the sunlight into your buildings. This is an example of natural lit interior without using artificial lighting, and it is possible. And the second one is natural ventilation instead of mechanical ventilation. And this is also possible if you can use your openings or the windows in proper location, considering the wind direction. So you can simply place your windows to promote cross ventilation. And you can use courtyards with openings at the top to facilitate the hot air escape from top. And this will facilitate the cooler air to come to your interiors. And you can have water features or feature ponds inside your house. This will promote cooling through evaporation, and we call it evaporative cooling. And using vegetation is another measure. Vegetation can act as a buffer for sound and dust to your house, and they can provide shade and cut down direct sunlight and heat into your building. And also, vegetation cover will give an eye-pleasing aesthetics and privacy too. So above a few measures you can think of for better thermal comfort inside your house without consuming energy for that. And further, reuse of used materials for construction can also be named as a sustainable measure. By reusing, you are saving energy for future. These are few elements you can reuse in buildings. Use doors and windows. In this example, they have used already used doors and windows as decorative element in a wall, and used bricks and roof tiles also can be reused. So as you can see that these used bricks have used as pavings in landscape, and the used roof tiles have used as a boundary wall. And all buildings too can be converted and used for new functions, and it is called adaptive reuse. In Colombo, Sri Lanka, we have some examples. This is Dutch Hospital, which has been converted into a shopping complex. And so those are few simple methods we can use when we are designing today's building for the future to be sustainable. And by adhering to those, you can design buildings with excellence performance, beauty, and durability. I think in line with the principles of craftsmanship, I think that is the way forward to building the better world through craftsmanship in relation to architecture. Thank you. I think I didn't take much time.
No, Vidusha, thank you very much. You were so quick and you were on time, no worries. So I think we've seen a lot of reusable things in architecture in Sri Lanka as well, right?
Yes, yes. For an example, we have Independence Square. At Independence Square, we have a shopping mall, which is an old building they have converted into a shopping mall. So we have other beautiful buildings which can be converted into so many activities, commercial activities, and maybe to house some resorts and all. So there's enormous potential.
potential. Thank you very much. Lonali, you're there, I guess. So my next question is for you. As an entrepreneur, what can you do to empower craftsmanship? And what are the threats you see in Sri Lanka? How is the government support? And how is the private sector coping up with issues? And even with the pandemic, I think this is one of the main industries which have been hit because you can't go out, you can't get people to get your things done. Craftsmanship is not easy. What can you tell us about your threats and issues you have currently in this situation?
Yes, so I'll start off with the threats and why quickly go into some reasons. So, and I'm picking the biggest two threats that we have with the craftsmanship. One is all the craftsmanship, not all, but mostly, I would say more than 80% of our craftsmen are in their 50s or over 50, which means we are not going to have a next generation, especially the traditional crafts. So that is one big question. Why? The reason is obviously the next generation is either educated and gone. I mean, they have educated themselves and they have degrees. And of course, they don't want to look back their parents' industry because it's not dignified enough. We haven't given the craftsman a dignity. Or the other option is obviously they have alternate. Their parents, they know how much they earn. How much they earn for craft, working so much. For weaving 1,000 times like this, you get, what do you get? So these people know that. So there's plenty of alternative options out there going into working in the industries, in the zones or in the communication sector. There's plenty of other options where you can earn more. And migrate to Colombo and all that. So therefore, the next generation is not there. So this is a huge problem that I have seen while I go to work with around the country. These are all old ladies and men who are working in this craft industry, especially taking the SMEs and micro and SME sectors, the livelihood craftsmanships. Then the next question, the biggest problem I've seen is we haven't created enough value for craftsmen because we haven't. That's again, there's two reasons. One is we haven't identified the craft, like I said, a hand loom, you're trying to sell it for 2,500, but the amount of effort that you put in, right? You can't, like you said, it's an artisanal value, skill. We initially said skill, artisanal value, techniques and expertise. You can't bring any of these down just because you have to reach a 2,500 rupee market price, right? That is, you have to keep it. Your craftsmanship is still the same. The time you spend on it's still the same. Your artisanal value is still the same, right? So you can't bring it down, the value, right? But we have, as the market, we haven't created value for them, enough value to them. And then the other reason why we have, again, alternative options. We have the cheap imports that are coming to this country. And because of that, what the next thing that the artisans are trying to do is, I've seen this plenty. They try to so there is a let's say we get the Southeast Asian, Chinese, Indonesian hats. If you go to places like Sigiriya, Anuradhapura, these vendors are selling all these imported hats. So at the same time, our craftsmen also trying to put their pang hat to the same market. So this is selling at $100. So what are they trying to do? Or sell it at the same price, because obviously you can't sell it for 150 when there's an alternative. So they are also trying to sell it for 100 rupees. But you spend the same amount of time. You spend the same amount of time. You have to plug the pang to shine the colle. You have to dye it, do all that, and weave it by hand, and it takes the same time, right? But what do we try to do? We bring down the quality. We will try to put less pang, right? This is what happens to the product. Then we put a less low quality product out there to compete with the foreign stuff. So then what happens is, anyway, we can't compete and they buy the thing. So this is what happens with the craft. This is, you need to identify the value and give the right value. So this needs to happen in some sort of way through the government. There can be policies that is set up. There can be government initiatives and departments, and like EDB to Commerce Department to, I mean, I work with Janakala Kendra, the Peshakarman, the Textile Department. All these places has a role to kind of bring that value in, embedded that, recognize the value of an artisan. So that's, I think, the biggest two threats. There's plenty of more threats, I think, but this is something that I've visibly seen out there while I work with these artisans. The two solutions that I am giving is, it's a solution that you and I can do, not artisan solutions. They need to, there's a lot of things that they need to do from mine. I mean, being a brand, we have to figure a lot of things on our own. But you and I play a consumer role. And one thing that we can do is to buy local. That is something that I think after COVID, since the imports were banned, since we couldn't go out, we couldn't access foreign products, we kind of started buying local stuff. We also gained a huge campaign of, buy local. We started putting it on Instagram. We started reviewing. So I think it's a good start. It's a good time to actually even press more on buying local stuff, because what happens is when you buy local stuff, the consumer create the demand, and then obviously the artisans are being more recognized. They want to create more. Right. So here, then they can earn more, right? Then you are actually slightly trying to solve those little problems. If they earn more, maybe their children will also help them to do a more better enterprise, or build up their craftsmanship. So these things will help them. So I think from our end, what we can do is, one, ask for local products, buy local products. Then the artisans also from their end need to be concentrating on design. We also again said attention to detail. This is very important. You can't compete with imports. You have to have the design. You can't hold on to the traditions. I mean, I've worked with so much of artisans since they're within that generation, they don't want to give it out. But no, the world is moving so fast. Sometimes you have to keep that essence and then do something modern. So that's something very important, design, and then quality of the product. At no point the artisans should bring the quality down. The third thing is transparency, where they need to be telling their story to consumers. Nobody knows how much of an effort that takes to make a handloom. Nobody knows the amount of burns that batik artisans have, right? Nobody talks about these. I have it, I feel it. So you need to tell, they need to tell the story, be transparent supply chain. So that is not something heard of, right? We haven't heard of where the palmyra is grown, how do they work, what is the process, how many people go climb palmyra trees and they bring it down, washing it, so much process that goes on to this. And the next thing is, of course, for this, I think for artisans, there's a huge opportunity to collaborate. This is where designers, architects, there's so much opportunity that we can collaborate, because they are artisans, they have their skill, techniques, and expertise, where we can make it a better product, modernize it, bring the trends in, bring the quality, bring the values in. So I think we need to embrace collaboration over competition also. Finally, I think the last message is obviously do not bargain any craft, anything that is made by a hand and craft, because it is something, you make it, you will feel why you need to be paid that amount. So I went through it, and I feel like this is what I go through every day. The time I spend to make one single book or one single pair of shoes, please don't bargain, and especially the artisans who are, it's a livelihood of theirs. Don't ever bargain. So with that message, I'm also just trying to make a point of a huge opportunity that Sri Lanka has, because I think Nisanka said the creative industry or craftsman industry is huge. Most of these craft people are as micro and SMEs, micro and small industries. So in Sri Lanka, there's about 500,000 industries, and that contributes 52% of the GDP, as well as 45% of the employment. And and 5% of export. So when you talk about 5% is pretty low, but if you take Indonesia, it's 25%, China 40%. So the potential we have is a lot more. If we can be a part, contribute to 52% of our GDP, I think we can do a way better job with the export, because world is asking for craft. World is asking for handmade, unique products with stories. So when we have that low-tech industry and the high-tech industry together, we have it in our hands. So I think Sri Lanka has a huge potential to grow, and that opportunity is there for us. So that's why you and I should be actually buying local things, promoting local things, so that they are more promoted to do exports.
Thank you, Lonali. That was a very timely message. And if you have viewers from government institutions, and I would like to invite you to reach out to Lonali and see what we can do for exports and how we can support our craftsmen around Sri Lanka, and to see how we can internationalize their businesses and also support them with the respective technologies for this artisans as well, because that is actually a current need. Even though if you are going to scale our industries, it is very important that we adapt and take on with the new technologies, so that we could go for mass scaling production as well. And if we can do that, that would be actually an asset to Sri Lanka and help our economy as well. And of course, just like Lonali mentioned, we need to buy local. Now, we don't have imports, yeah. Okay, we go local. That's not the way. First we go local and then, okay, go for imports. And she also mentioned about bargaining. So if we import stuff and if it is like 10,000, it's okay, it's imported. So it's okay, you can buy it. But you forget the craftsmanship in Sri Lanka, where you have to sweat a lot to earn that much. So just like Lonali mentioned, we should not bargain and go local as well. So thank you very much for all the information. And of course, I was nearly going to forget the storytelling nature. I think in branding and advertising, that is something we usually use, storytelling, right? So just like that, if we can bring in, we can feature artisans, that is also important for exports as well as bringing it into the local market as well. So keeping that, and for you to think about it a little bit more, I would like to remind you about our panelists again. So we had Nisanka Kusumsiri, Dr. Nisanka Kusumsiri from batch of 1998. Technical team, if you can go on gallery mode so we can see our panelists, that would be really nice. And we had architect Minishi Polhena from batch of 1997. We had Taruka Prematilaka all the way from Australia, from batch of 2004, and Lonari Rodrigo from batch of 2006. Thank you very much, Visakians. It was a pleasure to talk to all of you, and actually it was a pleasure to enlighten people with all your knowledge, and it was really a fun-filling webinar as well. So before we finish, before we conclude, I would like to thank the convener, Kanchanamala Gikinagi, and the co-convener of the Social Activities Subcommittee, Rasini Bandara. Thank you very much for all the efforts you have put in this year, and with the webinar series, Let Your Inner Sparkle Be Unleashed. That was a very good theme we have seen, and we have also learned a lot throughout this 6 webinars as well. And thank you very much for all the Visakians who were behind the scenes, putting everything together, the technical teams, the duty girls, and everyone who joined hands with us to do a marvelous job throughout the webinar series. And thank you very much for being with us, the viewers. Thank you very much. Without you, there's no point doing anything without you and your help. Thank you very much again, once again, the panelists. Hope you have a nice weekend, and make sure that you stay safe, stay strong wherever you are, and don't forget to get vaccinated if you have the chance. Thank you very much, and have a pleasant evening. See you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
අයියලා ඇවිල්ලා. හොඳ නෑ.
ඊට පස්සේ මම
මෙයාට ඕවා හොඳ නෑ.
ඩයබිටිසෝල් සීනි වලින් පරිස්සම් වන ඔබට විශේෂයි. විටමින් ಖನಿಜ සහ තන්තු සමගින් නිසි පෝෂණයක් ලබා දෙයි.
මේ තමයි වාට හොඳ දේ.
අඩු ග්ලයිසමික් දර්ශකයක් සහිත සමබර පෝෂණීය ඩයබිටිසෝල්.
සිය මාරයි.
සියගේ පුතත් මාරයි.